Hi, Bob.
Welcome, everybody, to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome, everybody, live here on YouTube from Dream Vision 7 Radio Network Studios. We are uniting humankind with universal love and uniting all of the world with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean live. Dr. Carolyn Dean, the preeminent voice of natural medicine for our time. And I do not say that glibly, because there are many voices about representing natural medicine and even allopathic medicine. But Dr. Dean has her own special way, as you're going to hear if you stay with us these next 2 hours or even 15 minutes. You'll be able to pick up on it right away. Her incredible uniqueness and her vital approach to health and well-being. I'm Ginny Sanders. I'm Dr. Dean's co-host tonight. We're here every Monday night. If you're watching through YouTube, be sure to mark the subscribe button, hit your notifications so you can always get our information. If you are not on our mailing list and want to be, we'd like to invite you to join us by going to drcarolyndeanlive.com, drcarolyndeanlive.com, our radio show broadcast, and entering your email there, and we'll keep you informed of what's going on. And as I say, this is not a show you want to miss, because Dr. Dean really does give you the leading edge of creation information about how to navigate the incredible changes that we are going through in our environment, in our culture, in our bodies that are keeping us on our toes and in some cases on our knees, hoping that we'll be able to survive this incredible storm. And we know there's lots of information that you could also lean on out there. And we're happy that you've chosen to listen to Dr. Dean. And why we do that is because she has the most experience as a medical doctor and as a natural doctor, following and leading and practicing and giving and orchestrating and developing everything you need for education and for your formulations, for your information, everything you need to be able to stay the course and have that healthy body in all times, not only for yourself, but for your family. So we welcome you and thank you for joining us. Now, before I bring Dr. Dean live on, I always have to say every single week that this is not a medical advice show, because it's not. We don't do medical advice. That would be very inappropriate. But what we do is we will let Dr. Dean tell you what she would do if she were in your shoes. Now, fortunately tonight, her feet are in the great state of Maui, where she is very warm. But I know there are a lot of people around the country tonight listening to us, huddled up over their heaters and their fireplaces. And we just send a lot of encouragement to you to hang in there. These incredible snowstorms that are just all over the United States. But we're just glad that you've tuned in. So no medical advice. She'll tell you what she will do if she were in your shoes. And I think without further ado, we're going to bring her on to talk about tonight's very important topic, which is yeast overgrowth. What if I have it and what do I do? And that's probably, actually, you probably do have yeast overgrowth. Probably, maybe, not everybody, but a lot of people do. And Dr. Dean will be able to tell you what to do. So again, without further ado, we love, 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 and bring her in joyfully, our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean.
And there are the children. Thank you, children. Thank you, Jenny. Great introduction as usual. And yes, I have been in the yeast shoes. I have definitely shoes of yeast. So I have a lot of experience with that. And we'll get to that in a minute. Just some housekeeping. Major Valentine's sale going on. Chat to us if you did not know about the sale. We want to know if our emails are getting to you. It's a 33% off 72-hour sale, and it's specifically at this time of year because the winter is still going on. I mean, that storm, I'm getting emails from friends and some of our customer service people. Julie had to go to a hotel, Jenny. She lost her water and power. So people are out there, struggling through this. And what we know about the winter in the United States and Canada is that it will weaken your immune system. And we've got a lot of inventory that we can offer in this sale. We want people to be supported with their minerals and with all our formulas throughout this time of bad weather and the viral effects, the viral attacks that we seem to be under. And even if a person isn't susceptible to the virus, the fear factor is so high in people that that's part of what's happening to our immune systems. And where yeast comes into the picture is it's growing in the intestines, and it will grow in an environment where there's not a good balance of bacteria. And that'll happen if you take antibiotics or if you take cortisone, steroid drugs, eat a lot of sugar, under a lot of stress, and produce your own cortisol. Then yeast will overgrow, and yeast itself produces up to 178 different toxins, and they can be absorbed through the intestinal wall. And if you have a leaky gut from the yeast sort of clawing their way along the intestines, you'll absorb more of these end products, these toxic products from the yeast. And all those chemicals, the 178 chemicals, they act like foreign bodies, and the body has to produce antibodies against them. So if you're busy attacking the yeast and the yeast toxins, your body's not going to be available to attack viruses. So people that have yeast overgrowth, perhaps they're more susceptible. I think they are. I think it's a comorbidity, although it's not on the list because allopathic medicine has chosen to ignore yeast overgrowth because they don't have a drug to treat it. It involves diet and natural remedies that we'll get to. So yeast treatment, let me just say right now that it's the yeast management protocol, a very simple yeast treatment that I've been recommending the past while, and that's in our yeast book, Reset the Yeast Connection. I recommend Flora ReVive and Pico Silver. There's certainly all the others formulas are going to help support your body, support the cells. And when you support your cells, then you support your tissues and the rest of the body. So Flora ReVive and Pico Silver, if you don't have them, get them today for sure. I usually talk about the other thing, the subscription service. To get your monthly package, you can just join up and get automatic uh, deduction from your credit card and automatic mailing of your package. A lot of people are doing that now. Makes it much easier. We want you to keep referring your practitioners so that all their patients can benefit from our formulas. We continue pushing forward on our studies. We'll keep you posted on them. Certainly, the lockdown has created a problem because we haven't been able to get our subjects into the universities to do the studies, but we continue to pursue it. So let me go to the blog today, and as Jenny said, it's yeast overgrowth. Do I have it? And what do I do? What do I do about it? Something came up while we were waiting to get on the show, and I don't know if I emphasized this enough in the Yeast book, Reset the Yeast Connection, which actually is a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com. But because yeast crave sugar, that's their main food source, they make you crave sugar, they make you eat sugar. You're not satisfied unless you're eating sugar. Well, that's going to lead to prediabetes and diabetes. So that's one of the causes of diabetes is yeast overgrowth. And again, it's ignored by allopathic medicine. So this information you're not going to hear from your doctor. And what I've said over, as I note in this blog, the blog that you got in your email, and that's at drcarolyndeanlive.com, I've been studying health since my teens. And in my overview of chronic disease, there are two clear causes: mineral deficiencies and yeast overgrowth. And what we found in our customer base, what I used to see in my patient base, is most people suffer from both mineral deficiencies, especially magnesium deficiency, and yeast overgrowth. And I mean, the closest allopathic medicine comes to talking about yeast overgrowth is they say people have yeast allergies. But what we know from the very first years, to the first 2 years of penicillin being discovered and used, it was recognized that people who took penicillin developed yeast symptoms. And that would be coated tongue. Women would get yeast vaginitis, skin yeast rashes. So it's been known, but when the treatment is to stop sugar, it gets, I mean, immediately gets into nutrition, and doctors just don't go there. They I What I perceived when I was in medical school in my internship was that doctors thought telling people, not to eat this or to eat that was, women's work. Because I went through my training in the mid 70s, and up in Eastern Canada, it was still very, was it not patriotic, paternalistic. So you never got a doctor who was going to tell you what to eat or what not to eat. So anyway, since yeast control involves a diet, doctors never went there. They just waited to try to find an antifungal that would work, et cetera, et cetera. And none of them work for any long term because you had to include a diet, et cetera. So um, the many symptoms that are associated with yeast overgrowth also kind of scared off allopathic doctors because there were just so many symptoms. And as I noted earlier, when you have 178 different yeast metabolites, which I call yeast toxins, they're going to cause all kinds of different things, like there's a yeast toxin called zymozan, and it causes skin rashes. And in the extreme, the skin rash resembles psoriasis. And what's done with skin rashes is they're usually treated with cortisone creams, which just feeds the yeast even more. Eye, nose, ear, and throat symptoms occur because they're all lined with mucous membranes, and it's in mucous membranes that the yeast grows or the yeast toxins are eliminated from. So those will be very itchy and irritated. And again, you're probably given cortisone drops to stop the inflammation of those symptoms. There's gastrointestinal symptoms. And for people who have IBS or even Crohn's colitis, which is an extension of IBS, in my opinion. When I wrote the book IBS for Dummies, I learned that most people with IBS and irritable bowel disease, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, have yeast overgrowth. And this is usually caused by taking antibiotics for bowel infection, and then you wipe out all the good bacteria as well as supposedly the bad bacteria. You leave yeast, a vacuum in which to grow, and then you keep having gut symptoms, which somehow doctors think, well, they've still got their Crohn's, they still got their ulcerative colitis, and you actually have patients undergoing needless surgeries because they haven't gotten to the bottom of this yeast overgrowth. Actually, when I was writing the IBS for Dummies book, the technical or the medical editor of the book read through it, and she didn't understand anything about yeast and tried to get the publisher to remove all the yeast information because she didn't believe in yeast overgrowth. And that's how we kind of remain in this fake world of information where people just their belief systems override their common sense, I guess. But of course I thought my way through, and the information stayed in the book. Genital urinary symptoms, as I said earlier, any mucous membrane can be subject to irritation and inflammation of yeast and yeast toxins. So vaginal symptoms are often associated more directly with yeast overgrowth syndrome, and therefore self-treated with vaginal creams. And you can also have yeast penile rashes and discharge. And the antifungal creams, I mean, locally, definitely they give some relief, but you have to go on a yeast management treatment as well. As I mentioned earlier, I get people to go on a modified yeast diet, and Flora ReVive, which is an antifungal and a probiotic. The next list of symptoms are the heart symptoms, gas and bloating in the small intestines can press up under the diaphragm and interfere with normal diaphragmatic breathing. So gas building up under the diaphragm can even put pressure on the heart and potentially interfere with the heart rhythm. Some people with that type of gas pain, high gas pain, can think they're having a heart attack. It can be that dramatic. What causes pain in the intestines is stretching. So when you're stretched with gas, that causes a lot of pain. Musculoskeletal symptoms. So when yeast toxins invade the bloodstream, they can settle in the joints, causing painful inflammation and swelling. In Chinese medicine, I learned that certain internal meridians divert infection and inflammation to the joints in order to protect the internal organs. So it's a very smart thing that the body is doing, but then doctors don't understand it. And instead of putting a person on a yeast protocol. They just treat the joint pain, etc., with drugs and even surgeries. And with hormonal imbalance, I learned early on in my yeast education that the yeast toxins cross-react with most of the organs in the body. They block receptor sites on organs like the thyroid, ovaries, and adrenal glands, and therefore are responsible for imbalance of those hormones and those organs. So that's pretty dramatic for people. I mean, we look at the thyroid and the fact that it needs 9 minerals, and that some people react to glutens that block thyroid function. But there's a certain percentage of people, they really can't heal their thyroid until they contain their yeast. And I mean, it just goes on and on. There are immune deficiency and autoimmune diseases that are created by yeast overgrowth. And you can imagine 178 toxins, the body constantly having to keep those in check. The immune system is going to be distracted and diverted and too busy doing all that to deal with infections. And also, when there's this cross reaction of these toxins with different tissues, you're going to get the body tissues being attacked. And that's what autoimmune disease is all about, the immune system attacking itself. And that only happens, as I've said many times, when the tissues are weakened, diseased, in that state already. And I guess maybe I should just throw in the information here about one of the ingredients of our Flora ReVive, which is our RNA powder. And it's the waste products from our RNA drops and RNA powder that we use as a fertilizer. And we're doing experiments with that over here in Maui. And some of you may have heard of the radish experiment. And what that was is we took 2 plots of land, good sized plots, and we put what we call mighty mash, the barley straw that's the leftover waste material from the RNA drops. We put that in the soil and then planted radish seeds. In another plot, we didn't do anything. We just planted the radish seeds, watered the plots every day. And after 28 days, the radish plot with the mighty mash produced 85 beautiful pounds of bright red radishes. And the non-mash plot produced 3 pounds. So that's huge. I mean, you don't even have to work out, statistical percentages, that's right, right in your face. And and the reason that happened is we've known for a long time that the RNA drops are kind of a life force enhancer. And what we found with the Mighty Mash is it gave the plants such health and such vibrance and vitality that predators just were, rejected. The predators don't even look at healthy plants or healthy tissues. They are programmed, their prime directive is to attack weak and diseased and dying plants and organisms. So that's what happened with the radishes. They were all wormy. They were all choked with weeds. And in our bodies, if there are tissues or areas in the body that need to be broken down and renewed, then the yeast are going to go after that tissue. They do that in the wild too. You see, dead things, dead animals, dead trees, dead plants, they start growing mold and fungus on them that eats them up. And that's how, uh, that's the cycle of nature. That's how things are broken down. And, you don't build up it. Every tree that's ever grown is no longer there. It's broken down into humus, etc. So, what we've got in this yeast is something that's not totally an enemy. You make it an enemy by feeding it with sugars and throwing it out of balance, throwing the bacteria out of balance with antibiotics. But it serves a purpose in the body, and you have to keep it in balance. And when we're using the Flora ReVive with the antifungal, the probiotics, and the RNA powder, we're making the cells more vital, more vibrant, more perfect, so that they won't attract yeast and they won't be broken down. So and that's so important these days. When the people that are uh, being shown to be more sensitive to COVID and viral infections, they have immune deficiencies and autoimmune disease. So um, we get around that by balancing the body with the minerals, giving the building blocks to the cells, and treating yeast overgrowth. Um, the last group of symptoms in the email that Ginny sent out, mood disorders, and it reads, your intestines send signals to your brain and vice versa. Therefore, when your intestines are suffering from an overgrowth of yeast, this can cause symptoms like depression and anxiety. Yeast overgrowth can, as I said many times, produce up to 178 different toxins. As these toxins are absorbed in the colon and enter the bloodstream, they can cause irritations and symptoms in every part of the body, including serotonin in the gut and receptors in the brain. And we know the gut produces about 98% of the serotonin for the whole body. So you've got to keep your gut happy. So as I mentioned, the treatment for yeast management is the Flora ReVive and the Pico Silver. Certainly the ReMag is absolutely important. We have found that people who take ReMag alone, because that's our main formula, people who take ReMag after, month or 2, 3 months, they sometimes come back to us with symptoms of yeast discharge. They have a rash or vaginitis or gas, and they wonder what's going on. And what we know is that the magnesium, which affects 80% of known metabolic functions, must be improving the immune system to the point that it's dealing with the yeast, getting rid of yeast, pushing it out, and then you're getting these yeast detox symptoms. So we tell people, okay, well, you need to take your other minerals, Remite for your adrenals and thyroid, and get on your Flora ReVive and your Pico Silver. So we know what to do. We've seen customers cycle through this, and it's very rewarding to find that when people are able to follow our directives, they do get so much better. Um, okay, so that's the blog, but then it's interesting. I came across a study, a 2021 study on COVID and the gut. And they're saying that people infected with COVID experience a wide range of symptoms, et cetera, including GI symptoms. Studies have demonstrated that people with underlying medical conditions, the comorbidities, face a higher risk. But this age group is usually older, and they also have chronic gut symptoms, altered gut microflora, etc. And it's happening more in wealthy countries where people are eating a low fiber and low nutrient diet. We're just eating too much processed food. And they finish off this article saying the problem with gut health goes beyond COVID-19. Once the pandemic passes, the world will still have to reckon with chronic diseases and other problems associated with poor gut health. Um, what people do not realize is that the pandemic of damaged gut microbiomes is far more serious now. Now, what I've noticed, and I think people, doctors and practitioners who do natural medicine, totally noticed that all these things that we've known about for decades in natural medicine, like the gut flora and the way viruses mutate, and that 20% of people who have a bad viral flu, they'll have mood disorders or they'll have chronic fatigue. That's where chronic fatigue syndrome came from, is people suffering from a heavy flu and not really overcoming it. None of this is new. And that's why I've always been on the bandwagon for people to boost their immune system, get their minerals, deal with their yeast so that they can meet any eventuality. And one other thing that before I go quickly to the mailbag, there was a Grassroots Health, who's our public, I guess you could say, public research arm where we do home blood testing. They put out a blog recently saying that African Americans have a 15 to 20 fold higher prevalence of severe vitamin D deficiency, which may account for a majority of their increased health and mortality risks. And vitamin D is also related to their severe cases and death from COVID. So this is really important, and it's people who have extra melanin in their skin, brown, black, whatever, to protect from the sun. When you grow up when you live in the equator, when your ancestry is at the equator, you've developed layers of melanin which darken your skin and protect it from the sun. But what it means also is you need more and more sun to get through those layers to give you your vitamin D. So it's absolutely essential to have your vitamin D levels measured so that you can stay in the 40 to 60 range, 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter range. That's where everybody needs to be. And that's why it's really important to get your vitamin D blood tested. And just a quick vaccine update. You should look up Dr. Sherry Tenpenny about the vaccines. I don't want to get canceled because I say these words, but I feel I have to. Within the first 30 days of vaccinations, says Dr. Tenpenny, there have been 40,000 adverse reactions reported. And usually only 10% of people report their adverse reactions. There have been 3,011 anaphylactic shock reactions, 5,000 neurological reactions. So for more information, you can look up Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. Now, the blog questions are pretty straightforward. I think I probably answered most of them. Someone's asking about her 30 years of Candida and what should she do? Well, it's all in Reset the Yeast Connection. Right at the top of the book, or at the beginning of the book, I put in the yeast management protocol. The book is long. It has a lot of recipes. There's a lot of repetition people with yeast overgrowth have brain fog, so I go very slow and very detailed. But if you just want to grab the yeast management treatment, you can do that right at the beginning of the book. Someone's saying what products, and yes, I've said the Pico Silver and the Flora ReVive and the ReMag. Someone is asking, does yeast overgrowth cause eye issues, painful, gritty eyes? Yes, definitely. I went over the eye, ear, nose, and throat. All those mucous membranes can be affected. And she's asking about floaters and specks. Well, floaters are more in the macula of the eye. They're little threads that are released from the back of the eye, and I don't think that's related to yeast. Blurry vision can be yeast and yeast toxins. She asked if yeast overgrowth can cause severe itching of the vagina. Definitely. I mean, when I had yeast overgrowth and yeast vaginitis, I had to put, almost boiling water on the area to try to numb it. And now I don't recommend that, but it can be very intense. And what people can do, actually, instead of going through it agonizing step by step, I have a whole section on yeast vaginitis in the book, Reset the Yeast Connection. So it's a free download. Go get it and check that out. And does yeast overgrowth cause pains in the body that wander around? Definitely talked about the going to the joints, yeast toxins and symptoms. So yes, all those things, and which makes it a condition that is very difficult for doctors to even understand, because they just want to see one symptom and give one drug for that symptom. Someone is saying, how do I feel about cultured foods, fermented vegetables, kefir, kombucha? And I have a section in the book, can I eat fermented foods or cultured vegetables? And as I say, yes, please take it easy, know your source. Don't overdo it in the beginning. And I say in that section, I draw the line when I hear authors or practitioners giving blanket statements that no one should eat fermented foods, or the opposite, we must all eat fermented foods. Neither statement is entirely accurate. Everybody has their own individual reaction to these foods, and nobody can tell you what your body will or won't tolerate. You have to do your own personal experiments. So that's it. Ginny, I have actually finished everything.
Not so fast, Trigger. No.
Darn.
You're
Okay.
not quite done. Now, I want to talk about this just personally because I've had my big crazy manifestation of losing 14 pounds now as a result of stopping dairy. And
Yeah.
I would like you to talk about, how to do an elimination diet. You always say sugar, wheat, and dairy. You just say that. But I'm asking you because I did the keto, then I did it for a week or two, nothing happened. And then I just got this brain idea to do this dairy, and everything changed. So can you kind of break down why you recommend and how to actually do it, and then how long you have to sustain it, and all those other kinds of things, because really eliminating the food piece is a big part of a yeast overgrowth diet, right?
True. I did kind of glance over that. In the book, page 155, I have food elimination and challenge. So it is laid out there.
Okay.
I say, but it's not simple. I say the process is very simple to describe, but requires some effort to put into practice. You eliminate the sugar, gluten, and dairy. Why you eliminate dairy is because it has milk sugar, lactose. So it is a sugar that feeds yeast. That's why you try to eliminate it in the beginning. And then, I mean, what I used to say is if you can possibly eliminate all those three for 3 weeks, and then you do a challenge of foods, but you never challenge anything that you know you're allergic to. That's just silly. But you would, if you want to challenge sugar, just to see what that does to you. I mean, I've talked about the experiment with children where you bribe them to avoid sugar and junk food for a week, and say on a Saturday they can have all the sugar they want, all the treats they want. And they just turn themselves into hyperactive. First, they're hyperactive, and then they go zombie. And oftentimes they get gut symptoms. And it proves to everyone, including the kid, it's him or herself, what the food is doing to them. And then they become their biggest advocates for avoiding these foods because they don't want to feel crappy. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to test these foods that you've avoided to see what your body does with them when you haven't been eating them every day and causing yourself sort of minor issues. Like you said, Ginny, you didn't know what was up until you avoided, and then it was a big shock to you. So it's I don't know how, it's all laid out in the book. I don't know how much
Okay.
more to say about it, but it's under your control. There's nobody else that can do it for you. You have to do it.
Right. Well, I think the whole thing about, re-adding things, which I'm not really ready to do yet because I want to see how far this goes. I don't know what the end of the tunnel is,
Right.
for me, but I think the whole thing too, because I have heard you say, sometimes you do it for a certain amount of time, but then, people sustain keto for a long time. They do intermittent fasting for a long time, years at a time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's I mean, people don't have enough information to go on these strict diets for a long time, because what I think is going to happen with the keto people is they're going to be uh, they're going. I don't want to uh, make predictions like this, but without enough fiber, your intestines really don't have the bulk they need to press against in order to push food through. And you can develop little pouching in your intestines that are called diverticuli. And, that's a real possibility on a low fiber diet, constipation and diverticuli. So I talk about the keto diet in one of my books, and if I don't have a lot about fiber in there, I'm going to put it in there just to make sure that you don't get into that problem. So, I mean, that's going to be the problem with the carnivore diet, keto diet, paleo diet, not enough fiber, causing symptoms. And almost bigger, well, on par, is the fact that fiber is a prebiotic to these intestinal bacteria. They live on this indigestible fiber. So if you don't have enough fiber for your intestinal bacteria, they suffer. So that's the problem when you go on any sort of fanatic diet. The people who went gung-ho on vegan, vegetarian years ago, and still go in cycles, even though only 4% of the North American population is vegan, vegetarian, they make it seem like everybody has to be a vegan or vegetarian to be healthy. And you'll notice in most of their books, the diet books, it's like the dessert chapter is number one, so they can attract people to the diet by saying, oh, you can eat all this great fruit and all these fruit desserts, and on and on and on, pushing fructose sugar, which is actually a burden on the liver. It takes more energy, more magnesium, more liver resources to metabolize fructose, and it's actually leading to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The amount of fructose people are eating, either with a lot of fruit or with the high fructose corn syrup sweeteners that flooded the market, 20 years ago.
What about in the fiber thing? I just want to ask you too, is a solution to that or a partial solution to like do a psyllium, but you can't, like live on psyllium alone or whatever, because I know sometimes people will ask about adding psyllium husk, but can that irritate the diverticuli, or is it better to eat those digestible fibers in real food, or what do you think about that?
Well, psyllium seed powder rather than the husks, I think is very safe. Metamucil is psyllium seed. And it's been, there's probably billions of doses have been used of Metamucil, and I've never heard anything negative about it. But just get the plain psyllium seed powder in the health food store rather than the Metamucils that are often sweetened and have food dyes in them. So I personally, because I intermittent fast, my first meal of the day is a tablespoon of psyllium seed powder and water, and sometimes I put my berry drink in there just to give it a bit of taste. But I do a lot of psyllium seed.
Okay, very good. So that's reasonable to consider doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
very good. Now, Alan is asking on the chat line, and thanks everybody for being on YouTube with us tonight. Again, feel free to share the show, feel free to subscribe so you can get the constant updates. And we will be taking your phone calls as well. You can always hit *9 on the phone. That'll raise your hand and we'll get you on the phone with Dr. Dean here in a minute. Just to run through the chat line, I wanted to say, Carolyn, though, that Alan asked, with the crusty eyes that could come from yeast overgrowth. Do you rely on the Flora ReVive for that, or do we use maybe Pico Silver or something else?
Well, for direct treatment, I forget what I put in the book about that, but I personally would drop straight Pico Silver in the eyes. It doesn't sting. It's very safe. There's no additives or preservatives. It's just straight the silver and water. So that's what I would do while doing the elimination diet and doing the oral Pico Silver and Flora ReVive and ReMag.
Very good. Excellent. And also, speaking of Mighty Mash, which you've been talking about during the show, it brought up one of our listeners asking, is the Mighty Mash available? It's not on the website anymore.
I know. When we moved our warehouse, we had what was it, 50, 60 big 55-gallon drums of it. And we put it on sale just so we wouldn't have to move all the drums. And since then, we've been using what we've been making from the drops on our experiments. So the Mighty Mash is going into our experiments. If we put it, we sold it out within a week, because if we start selling Mighty Mash, I think what it would mean, Jenny, is we'd have to build another warehouse and go into mass production, because that stuff takes a lot of effort to create a batch and then use the residue. You agree?
It takes a lot. Yeah, it does take a lot to do the Mighty Mash. It does.
So it's not available, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, it's not available right this second. Who knows? But right now we actually have 3 different targets for it too. So let's just say, and they're acres. It's not just something where it's a handful here and a handful there. These are really large plot projects. So, but we'll we'll figure something out, because I know people do love it. Yeah, I do know that. Okay, and then let's see where we're at. I just want to put out my little words to Elma that we love in Kuwait. Elma, you are so precious. You guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but we had an RNA drops invitation last week to make a video. If you love the RNA drops, you could win the Total Body Reset formulas at as a prize. So Elma, who we love, sent an email in. I mean, we love everybody, but I'm just saying Elma sent a video in, and with her most precious face talking about the drops, and she absolutely forgot to turn the audio on. Elma, your phone was accidentally muted. So I sent you an email, love. Please look through your email for my email to describe what Chad's asking you to do again, so you can possibly win that wonderful prize. Okay. And Sonia says she purchased the ReMag, and after 5 days, her stomach is irritated and burning.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where you'd phone into customer service and tell them how much you're taking, if you're diluting it, if you started with the sea salt water, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't, we haven't had that happen unless someone's taking a shot of it. So that's not something I can answer, from that question. And that's why we have, about a dozen customer service people that can talk to you about that.
Yep. And you can call in, Sonia. The number's on the bottle. It's 888-577-3703. Now, the interesting thing about magnesium that I never knew, as a person who suffered with heartburn for many, many years before finding Dr. Dean, to my good fortune, is magnesium is actually really important to make stomach acid. Mm-hmm. And it's very good at alleviating stomach issues, and it will heal the tissues in the gut. And it is a natural antiviral, so it will be very supportive of digestion all the way through. And so the answer, just my customer service background, is it normal? I would say no. So something's going on. But again, customer service, either phone call or email support, SUPPORT at RNAreset.com. And because magnesium is so supportive for digestion. And so is our zinc and our potassium product. But yeah, check out with them, and they'll walk you through the whole process of looking at how you're using it and what else may be going on. We're going to take phone calls from our very own delightful, lovely Dr. Carolyn Dean. You've got to call our phone number, 646-558-8657. And then there's a big ID number that you have to put in. And usually Deborah, who runs the radio station, will type out the ID and put it for everybody on the YouTube channel and also our chat line. So I don't have to read it over over the radio show. It's also in our emails and stuff. It should be easy for you to get to us. And then we will take your phone calls and talk about our important topic. Now, oh, Elma, do not apologize, sweetheart. You are so precious. Just follow, look for the email and see if you can send it to us again. That'd be great. And by the way, if anybody wants to make a video about the RNA drops, just send us an email, questions, questions, at Dr. Carolyn Dean Live, and I'll send you the link if you missed it in your email, or look through your email and we'll send you the link and you can put an email into the contest. They're so much fun to do these contests. Now, Carolyn, the one little teeny tiny thing that you didn't mention is for all the people who've been listening to Dr. Dean for all the years and who have their yeast under control and they still want to have a probiotic.
Oh, right. Yes, indeed. We forgot to mention that we have a product launch. Good grief. We're such bad marketers. Seriously, that we should have led with that, right? We have a product launch, folks. It's Flora ReVive Lite, Lite, for people who've, like myself, we've taken the Flora ReVive for a year. We've got our yeast under control. Do we keep taking an antifungal? And you don't have to. You can. Usually, I'm saying to people to alternate your Flora ReVive with your Flora ReVive Lite. And if you feel you don't want to take an antifungal, just take Flora ReVive Lite. Keep your Flora ReVive with the antifungal. Keep it in your shelf though, because you're going to have that birthday party or that magnificent dessert, and you're going to want to go back on the Flora ReVive. So we've got the two of them. The Flora ReVive Lite is on sale. We're coming up to the break in a few minutes, so I want to see everybody who's listening going over to the website rnareset.com and putting in your orders for this sale. Seriously, yeah, yes, you have to have your immune system supported for the rest of the winter, and everybody else you know and love, you have to support them. If they're going to take the vaccine, they really have to take their nutrients to support their immune system. Kind of against the vaccine because the vaccine's going to stimulate stuff. We don't know what it's going to stimulate, but you'll need support if you take the vaccine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So very good. Thanks everybody for being with us in this first hour. It's always so much fun, and I can't wait for everybody to call Dr. Dean next hour. So let's see. I think we're all caught up with everything that we need to say, and we're just 2 minutes away from the break. Carolyn, anything else you want to share before we jump onto our break?
Sure, I can throw in some Instagram testimonials because they're short and sweet and wonderful.
Yay!
Yeah. They come with lots of hearts and stars and everything. It's very cute. So someone is saying, I love it. This is what happens at my house all the time. I usually stock up and share if someone is in need. We are so grateful for your products and many years of research. So that's where Kate must have put out something about how the products disappear quickly when people find out how good they are. The next one, just received 3 more vitamin C containers. We are really enjoying the flavor. So that's our vitamin C reset, the berry powder. That's just so tasty. I remember when I was a kid, there were these sugar treats that kind of fizzed in your mouth. So there's this fizziness to the berry powder, and it is the potassium bicarbonate. There's, what is it, 400 and something milligrams of potassium in the vitamin C powder in one scoop. And so it allows you to take all your minerals, put all your minerals in one glass or one jar, and then put in a scoop of vitamin C powder and stir it up, and it takes away the taste of the minerals. Jackie just emailed me. Jackie, who runs our pro side with the practitioners, she said that she sends information about the vitamin C powder to all the practitioners who complain about the taste. They're so used to sugaring up supplements.
Yep.
But what I do is just tell people to use the berry powder, because then they're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. They're getting high dose vitamin C, which is very protective of the immune system, and they're helping the flavor. And one more.
Yep, go ahead.
One more before the break. Someone says, I really benefited from the ReMag, and along with that, I take the Realign and Remite. These are my absolute musts. And yes, that's how we started. But people who have any sort of heart symptoms, we really do recommend you add the Pico potassium. We're coming out with 16-ounce Pico potassium, and that shows you how well the Pico potassium has been received, that we're able to go so quickly to a 16-ounce to help with the the cost. So yes, there's our Instagram testimonials for you, Ginny.
Fantastic. Okay, very good. We're going to come back hour 2 with Dr. Carolyn Dean after this break, and then we'll be talking about all kinds of wonderful and exciting things, and we'll be taking your phone calls. Be sure to stay tuned.
And this is your break to go and order everything at 33% off.
That's right.
I'm pushing this. I'm emptying the warehouse.
Emptying the warehouse. Yay!
We'll be back with Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAReset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, Dr. Carolyn Dean live, author of the #1 bestseller, The Magnesium Miracle, here on YouTube through Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. We're so happy to have you all with us. And it's incredible the amount of information that Dr. Dean always provides to her radio audience and also her customers through her blogs, her television, well, I guess you're going to have a television show, Carolyn. That must be next. Through blogs, radio, and also through her writing. It's so much education. And it's funny because we do say things so many times, I think, Carolyn, that sometimes we don't even realize that maybe we haven't said the thing that we need to say that simplifies it for people. Because Alex, who's one of our new YouTube watchers, just asked, so what do you recommend for yeast? And it's kind of just a simple question of what do you recommend?
Well, that's where I was talking about the Flora ReVive and the Pico Silver and the ReMag as the base. So if you go to the RNA, what's it?
RNA
Reset the Yeast,
Okay.
Reset the Yeast connection for the book at drcarolyndeanlive.com. It's laid out. I call it yeast management. For many years, I had and it's still in the book, a protocol. You know, people do the elimination, and then they add bentonite and psyllium, and they add antifungals, and they rotate them, and some people still have to go that route, but I'm trying to head it off at the pass. And if people have mild to moderate yeast, they might just need to do the elimination diet, the sugar, gluten, and dairy, and do the ReMag, Pico Silver, and Flora ReVive, and that may be enough.
Very good. Okay, so that's about as simple as it can get, Alex. So you're going to read Dr. Dean's book, which will give you even a bigger basis for understanding the impact that yeast is having on your body. You're going to look at doing an elimination diet, either one by one or in combination of removing sugar, the gluten, and the dairy, as I have done. And then you're going to do the products, which is going to be ReMag to fortify your body, Pico Silver as an antifungal, and Flora ReVive also as an antifungal. And those 3 products together in combination will give you tremendous restorative value, because what you find out with yeast overgrowth is by the time you get to a position where you're willing to get into that elimination diet, or where you've really suffered physically enough to make these kind of sweeping changes, your body does need to be balanced and restored, right, Carolyn?
Right. And one thing that I forgot to mention about Pico Silver, there's so much to say, but Pico Silver prevents the Herxheimer reaction, or the yeast die-off reaction that a lot of people complain about, which is when you take an antifungal to kill off your yeast, there's so many yeast die at the same time, and the body is flooded with their 178 toxins. And that flooding, causes people the head to toe symptoms. I mean, if you look at Reset the Yeast Connection, and you look up the questionnaire, I'm looking it up right now. It's this huge long questionnaire that Dr. William Crook, he created years ago, and I'm just trying to find it right now, and it goes into all the possible symptoms of yeast. And if you look at it's just overwhelming. I have a list of the symptoms. Now, what what I put up first is something called the Fungus-Related Disease Questionnaire. And it's a doctor, gosh, over in Norway or Sweden, Dr. Santelman, Oslo, Norway. He designed this. He took it out of Dr. Crook's long questionnaire, and he asked 7 questions. And this is supposed to tell you if you have yeast overgrowth. Have you at any time in your life taken broad spectrum antibiotics? And that's given a rating of 0 to 3. Have you taken tetracycline or other broad spectrum antibiotics for a month or longer? You know, people who are given it for their acne, for Pete's sakes. And that's another score of 0 to 3. Are your symptoms worse on damp, muggy days or in moldy places? That's another score, 0 to 3. Do you crave sugar, 0 to 3? Do you have a feeling of being drained? And that's 0 to 3. And women, are you bothered with vaginal burning, itching, or discharge? And men, do you have burning, itching, or discharge from the penis? 7, are you bothered by burning, itching, or tearing of your eyes? So those 7 questions, if you're answering, what does he say? A score of 0 to 3 is unlikely that you have a fungal related disease. 4 to 9 is probable. 10 to 21 is almost certain. So when I was in practice up in Toronto, I had a lab, and we did yeast antibody testing, and we also got people to do the questionnaire. And I really found that the questionnaire was better than the antibody testing. And in the questionnaire, it goes into medical history. Have you taken the antibiotics, etc.? Memory loss, feeling sick all over, being pregnant, being on the birth control pills, having taken steroids. Does exposure to perfumes, insecticides, fabric shop odors provoke symptoms? Does tobacco smoke really bother you? Uh, have you had athlete's foot? Goes on, and you start realizing, oh my gosh, maybe in the section B, major symptoms, maybe my fatigue or lethargy or feeling drained or depression or numbness, burning, tingling, headache, muscle aches, muscle weakness, pain and swelling in joints, abdominal pain, constipation, bloating, vaginal burning, itching, discharge, prostatitis, impotence, loss of sexual desire, endometriosis, cramps, and other menstrual irregularities, premenstrual tension, attacks of anxiety or crying, cold hands, feet, hypothyroidism, shaking or irritable when hungry, cystitis or interstitial cystitis. And that's only, then it goes on to other symptoms: drowsiness, irritability, incoordination, frequent mood swings, insomnia, dizziness, loss of balance, pressure above ears, sinus problems. Now, sinus problems is huge because when you get an infection in the sinuses, it's very hard to treat with antibiotics because there's so little blood flow there. So people with sinus problems often have been treated with a lot of antibiotics, so they have a lot of exposure to yeast overgrowth. And this is where I may talk about it in the yeast book, how to treat sinus problems with nebulizing with dilute hydrogen peroxide or with Pico silver, using a neti pot with some Pico silver in it. There's many ways to get at that sinus problem, but it's usually that you have to treat yeast overgrowth. Then it continues: tendency to bruise easily, eczema, psoriasis, chronic hives, indigestion or heartburn, sensitivity to milk, wheat, corn, or other common foods, mucus and stools, rectal itching, dry mouth or throat, mouth rashes, including white tongue, bad breath, foot hair or body odor, not relieved by washing, nasal congestion or postnasal drip. And did I say bad breath? Seriously, there's 100 questions. And when you go through there, allopathic doctors would think, oh, this is, it's too generalized. But I know from treating patients that all these symptoms can be relieved. Now, some of these symptoms are going to be relieved with just your ReMag. If you're a new customer and you start the ReMag, you're going to start sleeping better and you're going to have less anxiety. You're not going to be so hypoglycemic and you'll feel a lot better, but then you'll start getting rashes, etc., as your yeast starts detoxing, as your immune system improves. So it's an experiment. And a lot of people, they just sort of give up and say, well, I'm going to find a doctor who'll just give me a drug, because it's just, there's a lot involved. But we try to make it as comfortable as possible. As I said, with the yeast treatment, if let's see where I put the yeast management. Yeah, I talk about in detail in chapter 6, but it looks like I overview it in the first introduction, trying to find the page number. So we try to, make it a step-by-step for people so that you don't get discouraged, and then have our awesome customer service team help you. I think that's what's different about us in our in the way we work with our customers. So anyway, I'm babbling, just trying to find yeast management. Go ahead, Ginny, what's next?
I do agree, and I do invite Alex, as you go and embark on this journey, Alex, to really work with our customer service team. They're fantastic. You can, they'll help you be stable, know the different reactions that you're having as you go through different things, and also celebrate those successes with you and guide you to how to transition, because you won't have yeast overgrowth forever, and you're going to start feeling better and better. And then as you do that, you will also add other things to your protocol. I think something that's really important also is realign. And our Realign product is just incredible for detox and to just, it's an energy booster.
Right.
So, you'll just keep working with your body. And that's the interesting thing about this journey of really being your own experiment. You'll have a great time doing it. You'll learn incredible things. You'll feel so much better. And you'll really enjoy the success that you're going to experience, for sure, for sure. And that's what people like Elma were saying. She said, I just want to say that your products have saved me and give me energy every day. And I love, love, love you so much. And we love Elma too. And that's what our customers are always saying, because we just do everything from the heart. Yeah. And you're going to get that support. Diana Orlando Carolyn said, I just want to tell you and Dr. Dean that my ear is getting better. I use the otoscope, the glycerin, and a rinse. Diana, they must have sold 1,000 otoscopes that night. We got on Amazon together and we're figuring it out. I got mine in like 2 days, and I looked in my ears, and it was fun though. It's a very fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, we have these tools, and we have access to these tools, so there's no reason why you can't use them, and just stay safe. And the way it's gone, yeah, some of the quote beneficial aspects of this horrible quarantine are that people are becoming more independent and taking more responsibility. There's telemedicine, and then you do your own research, you get stuff online, you look in your own ear, you clean it out. That's wonderful. Very good.
Yeah, it is. It's a very empowering. This is the time to be empowered by your health. Absolutely. So there is that little silver lining thing going on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get to the phones. So we've got callers waiting. And again, if you'd like to call in and talk with Dr. Dean tonight, 646-558-8657. And then the Zoom ID is 8836953587. And when you come in, hit *9. *9 will raise your hand in the studio and let us know you have a question or comment. And then we call out your area code like I'm about ready to do. And we go to area code 917 and we ask you to unmute your phone by hitting *6 and we bring you onto the call. Hello, area code 917. We're unmuting you with the blue button, or you can hit, there you go. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Dr. Dean. How are you?
Who's this?
Who's
Is
this?
this New York?
This New York, David, yes.
David!
It's been ages. Ah,
How are you?
very good, thank you. And you, are you in the middle of a winter storm?
Yeah, between mountains of snow, yes. In New York.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Last time I called, you gave me 4-time bad call because I said something about Fauci. That's by the way now. But I see that you like Fauci now too, so it's okay.
No, I don't.
I know, yes.
Okay.
I know you don't like him.
No. He's not helping
Dr. Dean,
us. He's not helping.
He's not helping. He's not helping anybody. He's causing damage. Dr. Dean, you spoke about, we spoke about what do you call it? The overgrowth yeast, right?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
And I realized that I'm cheating. I know that I'm cheating in the last, I don't know, year or so with sweet. I do almost everything. Intermediate fasting, low glycemic in the food, glycemic index food. But my blood sugar is good. But my AST, the last test, came up a little bit high, above normal.
Your hemoglobin A1.
Of a liver.
Are you saying?
Yes.
Oh, your AST, your liver test.
Yes. Yes. So my AST came a little bit high, but the marker of sugar in my test, the hemoglobin A1C is good. It's 4.7. Sorry.
Yeah, very good. Well, you know what? I've been asking. Just actually today, I asked our grassroots health person if they're going to do insulin tests and hemoglobin A1C, because it's the insulin that goes high, years and years before it hits the blood sugar and the A1C. So if you're concerned about your sugars, then you get your insulin levels taken and see if that's becoming elevated. And I mean,
so that's a result. That's a result of a rejection of insulin by the cell, right?
Correct. It's insulin resistance. So you can look up about insulin resistance, and it doesn't do its job, so it stays in the blood. It's not working, so it gets higher, just like eventually the glucose will. But the insulin is what starts it off. So that's what we should be testing. For some reason, that just get swept under the rug. So well, with the I don't know what to say about the AST. I mean, sometimes even just being dehydrated when you do these blood tests can affect it. So there's nothing.
It's not one of the sign of fatty liver.
I'm looking it up now. They're saying cirrhosis and hepatitis. Now you did have COVID. So have you had your AST done since you had COVID?
Yes, and I also, in the last year, I did 3 tests of, what do you call this? I lose the word. That after you have the virus, Antibodies. Sorry.
Antibodies, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 times came up positive antibody. So,
yeah.
yeah.
But have you had the AST since COVID? Has it been okay and now it's elevated?
This is the first time that I see it elevated. Yeah, elevated. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say off the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I just want to touch about you mentioned psyllium husk.
Yeah.
Inulin is an excellent prebiotic.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah, we have it in Flora ReVive. Inulin is
you
in
do?
Flora. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I just looked up AST, the liver enzyme. They are equating it with fatty liver. And the fatty liver, it can be from alcohol, or like I was saying earlier, it can be from fruit. You know, some people think fruit is so natural, etc. But I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, maybe you could go on a fruit fast for a few weeks and then get your AST done again. That might give you some answers.
Okay. And I'm already 1 month of no sugar. 1 month. So I had a few symptoms because of that. I had nausea. I had nausea for more than a week.
Oh my.
Only by thinking about food, I get nausea. But I ate. It didn't affect my appetite.
Right.
My appetite. So,
you were detoxing. That's in. Okay. So that could be why your AST was high from the sugar. Right. Okay.
I just want to make sure that I'm killing my yeast, not killing,
Yeah, balancing.
Give it less food.
Right.
Yeah.
And David, are you on the Flora ReVive and the Pico Silver?
Pico Silver, I do. Pico Silver, I'm inhaling Pico Silver mixed with hydrogen peroxide. And when I'm exhaling, I put it the stuff that's coming from the inhaler in my eye.
Yeah.
So inhale, exhale, put it in my eye. Inhale, exhale, put it in the other eye. So I don't waste the material.
That's very smart. But yeah, you should take the Pico Silver by mouth as well, 2 teaspoons a day.
I do. It's in my water.
Good.
It's in my water.
Right. Okay, well, let us know what the AST is in another month or so, okay?
Yes.
And how's your wife doing?
My wife, I don't know. She's amazing. Her health is amazing. She's good. She's very good.
Very good. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No. Just glad to hear from you.
Same here. Thank you so much, David. Take care and stay
You're
warm.
welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye.
Very good. Thank you. Oh, it's always fun to hear all the alumni.
Yeah, I mentioned the COVID. David, I think, and his wife had the infection, and they doubled their products. They got a doctor to give them vitamin C intravenously, and David said he and his wife did very well with it. So we were very happy to hear with that. That was many months ago. That was early on. And since then, we've had reports from people who've had it, been exposed, had symptoms, and doubled their products, got their zinc going, etc., and did very well.
Very good. Want to just respond to Alex. He said, thank you so much. I did not know that you offered that much support. I do know I have the yeast overgrowth. Dr. Ronald Hoffman in New York even said I had it years ago. So good. You'll be able to get it under control. It'll be easier than ever. And Luna, God bless her, said, ReMag lotion has been out of stock for 6 months.
Oh gosh.
reformulating, repackaging. Any chance you can just do a production run of the most recent version and get it back? She's trying to solve our problems with us. That's so sweet. It's not a problem. Thank you, Luna, though. That's very, very sweet. But it's what's happened is we're just so concerned about getting it right, this time. And so we're not taking our time in a willy-nilly way. We're taking our time in a respectful way. And I think you might have heard me say on the show before that we did set aside bottles for our customers who have emergency use purposes or require it for a therapeutic purpose. So, you can email support at rnareset.com. And I think there are just a couple bottles still left that you might be able to get your hands on, but we're close. Hopefully we'll be.
It's in shelf testing now.
Yeah.
Because one lot separated where the ReMag liquid was at the bottom and the lotion part was at the top. And if you shook it or if you took the time to put it in a blender and blended it up, it would come back. But that's not the way to sell something. So we've had problems getting ingredients through the quarantine, bringing it in-house so that one of our trusted manufacturers makes it instead of a third party. So we've been through the mill, and we suffer as much as you do for not having it. We're really upset by it, but we can't get too emotional. It interferes with life.
It interferes with life. Very good. But thank you, Luna. So see if customer service can't help. And then we will, and in the absence of all things, I still say, and I personally do use ReMag liquid on my body every single day. And it's never been a problem for me personally. It doesn't dry, it doesn't sting, it doesn't itch, it doesn't do any of the things that some of these other things do. And I just put it straight on my body. I don't even give it another thought anymore. So, but the lotion is very valuable, and we're definitely working on it. So it's almost there. So just hang in there, and we'll all get there together, and then it'll go off the shelves, and we'll be so happy. Okay, now let's go to area code 203. 203. You can unmute your phone, *6 203, and we'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean. Area code 203. Sent you the blue button, and *6 will unmute your phone. And area code 203.
Can you hear me drinking, Judy?
No, I can't.
I'll slurp it.
Where did our friend at area code 203 go? If we don't have our friend here, we will come back, circle back around, and
circle back?
Yes, we'll circle back. There you go. There you go, area code 203.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. I think I was unmuting while you were muting. Hi, it's Linda. How are you?
Hey, awesome.
Hey.
Linda,
and
is
Barb.
it?
So this is Linda and Barb. How are you?
Hi, ladies. Very good.
Hey. So we're this is a follow-up for our cat Buddy, who a couple weeks ago, he's just under 8 pounds, and a couple weeks ago you recommended we put like 5 drops of silver and ReMag and ReMite into, I think, 32 ounces of water, and then put a couple shakes of salt in there. So we added the salt, but we've noticed he's drinking a lot of water, which I think is because he has some kidney things, I think. But anyway, is it okay to put the salt with it, or is that causing him to drink more, or do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I've never talked about putting salt in the animal's water. What do you think, Jenny?
They don't need as much. I wouldn't give it to them. The ReMag itself is naturally salty, and the Pico Silver doesn't require anything. They don't have the same competition that we do in our bodies, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Oh, okay, good. All right, but it's really helping. And he's breathing well, and he's eating well, and so we appreciate it. And then he's 20. And then we really appreciate the sale that you're doing right now. We just want to confirm when the deadline is for that.
Oh, right. Good point. Yeah, tomorrow night. So 72 hours. We started Sunday on Valentine's. Happy Valentine's. So would it be? Yes, Barb. So would it be midnight Tuesday Eastern time, Ginny?
That's it. That's the perfect timing. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, good. All right.
Save your pennies for the next day and then jump on the sale.
It's an amazing sale. So thanks so much. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Yeah, we have a warehouse here.
I know.
Right,
you know what?
Love you.
Oh, thank you. You know what we should do is get people to send in pictures of their formula
staff.
cupboards. Wouldn't that be fun?
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
good.
Okay. So that'll be our next
right.
contest. Who has the
All right, very good.
Who has
All
the
right.
spiffiest completement cupboard? That's what we're going to do. Awesome.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
You could win even bigger. You'd have to devote a whole other shelf.
Yeah, and we got our new test kits so we can do the testing for grassroots health. So we're going to be doing that.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the gift.
Oh, you're
right.
welcome,
Have a good
Linda.
night.
Thank you. Thanks, Barb.
Bye-bye now.
Take care, girls.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. We love you.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
We love you too.
Bye, guys. That's
But
funny.
isn't that a great idea, Ginny?
That is an amazing idea. That's so fun. Yes. Send us your shelves. That's awesome. Yes, where it's all stacked up. That's perfect. That's perfect because that's what we want is to have it on hand and also to be able to support friends and family who are gosh, only know how this is all going to turn out. Okay. We don't want to get into it, but just be prepared. Okay, now we're going to go to area code 731, take another phone call. Again, if you want to talk to Dr. Dean tonight, so much fun, 646-558-8657. The number's on YouTube, it's in our emails, and it's also here on our chat lines. We'd be happy to have Dr. Dean talk with you this evening. She'd love to talk to you. And she's always the most fun to talk to. Now, before we scoot away too far from our current topics, Helen did ask Carolyn, how do you use Pico Silver with a neti pot for yeast in the sinuses?
Okay. Well, you know, it used to be neti pot, Helen, but since COVID, I've put straight Pico Silver in a little cute nasal syringe. Ginny found them on Amazon. They're like half-ounce little blue bottles with a little nozzle on it. So you put Pico Silver in the bottle, you know, screw back the nozzle, and then squirt it in your nostrils. You know, squirt, 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 squirt. And you can sort of tilt your head back. It runs through your sinuses. Little can run down the back of your throat. You might sneeze, or, you know, after maybe 30 seconds or so, you can blow your nose. But that's, I think that would be the simplest thing. A lot of people hate the nasal syringe. What's it called? The neti pot. You know, it's a lot of work. So let's get people on that. Ginny, do you mind going to Amazon and putting the URL for those nasal syringes?
Yes, I will do it right now.
Right.
I will do it while you are chitty chatting with our next caller. And also, I have seen people, namely my husband, pour the Pico Silver straight in the palm of their hand and just snort it up their nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's what the point of that message is it's not dangerous. It's really good stuff. It's very mild. And also I will say, when we first got Pico Silver, Julie Dickey, our great customer service person, was so high on life for about 3 weeks after she started using it, because the first time in 12 years she could breathe. She had done everything to clear her sinuses. And I mean, she could not believe she could finally use both nostrils 24 hours a day because of her sinus blocks and things. So it really does work. Just be consistent with it and it will work tremendously for you.
Very good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, let's go to area code 731. 731. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could hit *6 to unmute your phone. 731. There you are. Hello, hello.
Hello, Carolyn. It's Priscilla.
Hi, Priscilla. Welcome
Hi,
back.
Carolyn. How are you?
Very good. Very good.
They just did a test for me, and I'm anemic. Do you have any ideas? Is that a side effect from COVID?
It probably is, but you know, you really have to look at where that anemia is coming from. Have they done stool for occult blood?
Okay. In October, I had a bleeding ulcer from they were spraying prior to harvest,
right.
and the herbicides, pesticides were. And I'm wondering if that combination with the COVID could have messed up the iron balance.
Or the bone marrow.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Okay, that's personally what I would do if you've heard us talk about Pico Silver and how it helps support good grief.
Right.
The what am I trying to say?
Immune system.
Well, the immune system, but even more specifically, it helps the bone marrow in the production of the preliminary cells. There's a word for it that's escaping me. So that's where you need to go. You know, Ginny, do you know what I'm struggling to try to figure out? What it
Are you talking about stem cells?
Yes, stem cell production. Yay. So it's the stem cells come from the bone marrow, and the stem cells can go in any direction where they're needed. So they will go to the production of red blood cells if the body needs red blood cells, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And they discovered that because of silver's ability to heal tissues. You know, it just was able to
that would help. That would probably help strengthen the stomach wall too, the stomach lining.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you know, I'm thinking I would take 2 and 3 teaspoons of Pico Silver. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you have reason to be anemic. Those ridiculous chemical herbicides can kind of shut down bone marrow production. I mean, that's what they do when they're treating cancer with
yes,
yeah,
with chemo, with chemicals.
Yeah, you had a chemo spray. Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a walking experiment, aren't you?
Well, that's what one of my friends says. She says, if I need an experiment, I'll give it to you. I said, don't you dare.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that gives me an idea of what to try. It was like, where do I go from here?
Well, you call up the radio show and you share.
That's right.
Because I love questions. I'm like a medical detective, I think.
That's right. You know, we're in the research together.
Exactly. Well, you know, you always sound happy and on top of things. And that I appreciate, because that's what gets you through all, you know, the layers that you've had to work through. And I congratulate you for that. You're quite a wonderful woman.
It's God that helps me.
Absolutely.
He uses tools, and he uses other people to cheer me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yes. Okay. Well, I've got Pico Silver.
I'm sure you do. Okay, sweetie pie. Good luck. Let us know what happens.
All right.
Okay.
You have
great.
a good evening.
Thanks, Priscilla. Bye-bye now.
Yes. Bye.
Wonderful, wonderful. We love Priscilla. She is a dear, dear woman. Yeah.
I know, and it's true. She's always, kind of experimenting. Her body's giving her all these experiments, and we learn when she calls up. I mean, have you ever heard me talk about Pico Silver for anemia?
Nope, I have not. That was the first time I was going to say that. That is the very first.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
But like I said, you have to, if somebody turns up anemic out of the blue, you have to look for some bleeding in the GI tract, because a lot can happen that, we're not even aware of. Now, Priscilla, she knows her health, and she had the bleeding ulcer. So that's going to cause bleeding that can cause anemia. She had the exposure to the herbicide, which can shut down her bone marrow for a while, but that'll come back. But if someone out of the blue, especially a male who's not menstruating, especially a male, if they turn up anemic, you're looking for bleeding hemorrhoids, or heaven forbid, some sort of bleeding tumor up in the intestines. And you cannot overlook that. You can't say, oh, I'll just take some iron. You got to look for the source.
Right. Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Question, Carolyn. Alex typed in, what do you think of ozone therapy for yeast?
Well, I try to do things that are accessible to people. Ozone therapy, doctors will do it. They'll do, they can do rectal ozone. I've had, years ago in my experimental days, someone gave me intravenous ozone, for Pete's sakes. I just did everything. Yeah, if someone is really in bad shape, they can do some of these quote extreme therapies, but it's better to find something that you do on a daily basis that you're in control of, and it's not as expensive as going for ozone therapy. A lot of the doctors that I ran with years ago in alternative medicine, they got into, intravenous this and machinery and all the doodads. And I just sort of backed off. That's when I started studying homeopathy and vitamin and mineral therapy. I think that's where I got turned off, the intravenous vitamin therapy and high dose synthetic vitamins and minerals, and finally was able to find the products that I have found, because seriously, having stabilized ions of minerals is 100 times more powerful than an intravenous therapy that you get once a week, for example. When you take your picometer minerals, you're treating yourself every day. It's under your control. You can take what you want. So it's there's these two different aspects of alternative medicine. Going for the ozone therapy and the machinery, it's part of that that layer of the testing machines, Jenny, where I don't know, I was going to say boys and their toys is something that comes to mind that we used to joke about, where you have these machines that test you for the top 100 problems in your body. And I can't go there, because it just makes people feel that they've got so much to overcome. It's the same with doing the genetic testing, when they say, oh, you have all these genetic variations, and you think that it's hopeless because your genes are messed up. So anyway, all that rant just to say, why bother with ozone until you find out if you can manage it on your own. But as Alex said earlier, it sounds like he's been having this for a long time and thinks it's, so severe that he has to have the big guns. But, maybe people on the chat can give their experience with treating yeast with the Flora ReVive and the Pico Silver and the other products, the ReMag and Realign and Remite. It might take the whole, complement formula, what total body reset bundle, plus the Pico Silver and the Flora ReVive to get this under control, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good words though, Carolyn, because that's what you're looking for is your own health sufficiency. And like you said, the razzle dazzle treatments or whatever, versus you're just, it's a daily thing. You just got to get it out every day and work it through. But then the beauty of it is you develop a new relationship with your body, hopefully. And, one of the things that Carolyn always talks about is, for example, we do the small property affirmations and different things. You can do a little exploration around the emotional conflicts and different things with your body. And you can have fun, do some tapping maybe, and enjoy your experience of really working with your body to release some of these symptoms, because that's what you want to really ultimately understand is the miracle of your body. And if you go present yourself to somebody else to make that happen for you, it can get confusing, right? Like,
Yeah, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was saying, the many layers of things he's undergone, and every doctor he goes to, they give him a whole other possibility and set of supplements, and this is what I had seen happening over the decades, and this is why I wanted to create a protocol that would just address the total body meltdown of everybody. It got a little convoluted now with COVID and the immune system and trying to give people protection for their immune system. So, we have a whole handful of formulas now, and I didn't want it to be that many formulas, but I realized the importance of them because we're going to have to prove ourselves health-wise. That's what we need instead of a test or a paper or a mark of the beast to say that we've had the vaccine. We want a test that shows that we're healthy enough to overcome anything.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Perfect words. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I put the description of the refillable amber glass nasal bottle pump with dispensing, blah, blah, blah. And Helen found it and she's on Amazon and she's good. So she says she's been suffering with sinusitis and right ear congestion for a year. She has been taking prednisone. But she was prescribed prednisone, but did not want to take it. I would rather do this. This is awesome. Thank you so much. So you're good, Helen, and you're so very welcome. Prednisone's a trip, right, Carolyn?
Right. I know. It's when they first discovered it, they just started giving it, like candy to people with rheumatoid arthritis and various inflammatory conditions. And they felt like a miracle had happened. And then, a couple months later, they just had so many side effects. If it's an inhalation, I mean, they say, oh, it's okay, it's an inhalation, but you inhale right into your bloodstream, and it causes so many side effects, including osteoporosis. It affects the bones and the immune system. But Helen, make sure you call into customer service if you have any questions, because it's we can direct you to actually the total body immunity booklet is going to have all the instructions about nebulizing and the Pico Silver syringe. I hope I have that in total body immunity. Good grief. There's so much updating to do. I'll make sure.
So much
Yeah.
updating to do. Luna said thank you. She said she's used the neti pot for sinuses with Pico Silver, but not used it straight. So she is going to try that. Yes, you can do that with confidence. So grateful for everybody who tuned in tonight. And again, you're just like with the ReMag lotion, you guys are always on our minds. Our customer service team is very focused on everybody. A lot of long-standing relationships. I have customers that I talked to back in 2015 that still reach out to me. We are all about it and making as many things happen as we possibly can. Hence, all Carolyn's books. She's always writing with everybody in mind. She uses a lot of testimonials, a lot of exchanges, and that's why we share them, because we really want you to know we do take your words to heart and we follow your progress, and we are sincere about making good stuff happen. So I think this sale is perfect timing so you can get stocked up. We will do that competition. That'll be really fun. And, again, thanks everybody for tuning in on our YouTube channel, because it's growing, which I'm so happy for. Be sure to share it with your friends and let them know that they can come hang out here and be part of the scene with us, because we love having everybody here. What else should we talk about before we wrap up tonight, Carolyn?
I do have a couple of more Instagram testimonials that Kate sends me that we can go over in the last few minutes.
Yes.
This one, I'm loving these products. So that's the testimonial. Another one, after I upped my ReMag, I lost my anxiety. Now, I mean, that's a good thing to consider after I upped it, because a lot of people, they will look at the label and it says, take a teaspoon a day, which is 300 milligrams. And that we have to kind of put there to stay within FDA guidelines, that we only recommend the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, or less. We can't say to people all the words about, Carolyn took 4 teaspoons for a year and a half to get rid of her heart palpitations. And that's where we depend on customer service to give out those words or direct people to my writings. So if you have symptoms that you've considered maybe magnesium deficiency, and you say, they're not quite better yet, well, think about increasing your ReMag, and no doubt you'll have improvements. And the next person says, these products are the best completements. So that's them teasing us about calling our formulas the completement formulas. We say that word because these complete a diet that has slipped off the charts. Our diets are no longer as nutritious as they used to be, just because the soil is so depleted. And the next one, thank you for making your awesome products. Hope you and your staff have a very merry holiday. So that must have been around the Christmas time. And someone says, my daily routine is ReMag, ReMite in vitamin C reset powder, RNA reset drops, and Realign. Feeling optimized. Thank you. So yeah, that's what we want. We want people to, feel in their optimal health. And I think that let's just finish up talking about the Flora ReVive Lite, because everything we're saying about the intestines being leaky, being irritated, producing serotonin, also 90% of the immune system is concentrated in the gut, because it has to protect us from what we eat and drink. So everybody is aware that we need probiotics, and our Flora ReVive Lite is a probiotic. I didn't start with that because I'm very aware that 80% of the population has yeast problems. I wanted a good antifungal probiotic for myself. I'm very selfish about what I've created. Most of what I've created is for myself, and then I pass it on. So I know, like Ginny says, I know it's going to work. But I did it backwards, instead of probiotic and then an antifungal. Made the antifungal first. And as I said, for people who don't need the antifungal, even from the beginning, and people who feel they have their yeast under control. How do you know you have your yeast under control? You go to the book, Reset the Yeast Connection, search the book for Candida Questionnaire or Yeast. I think I just have it under Yeast Questionnaire. It's this huge, long questionnaire that I talked about earlier. You fill it out, you add up your numbers, and as your health is improving, your yeast are coming under balance or being balanced, your numbers will decrease. And there's a certain point where your numbers will be low enough, and the chart will say, well, you have mild or little to no yeast. So that's what you're looking for, your symptoms to be diminished. And that huge long questionnaire with I said about 100 questions, it might only be about 60 questions. That's going to guide you. So that's what you're going to do, is work to get your numbers down. Right, Ginny?
Yep. That's exactly, absolutely pinpoint perfectly correct. Yep. I think that's a wrap, Carolyn. Another great show, another great group of people tuning in and hanging out. We're going to be here partying again next Monday and talking about all the very good things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate this radio show and being able to hang out with people. It's very enjoyable. I totally look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Deborah. Once again, our team at Dream Vision 7, thanks everybody, and we'll be back next week.
Been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.